Hello everyone, my name is Mary and you are listening to Audio Quack. This is the audio adaptation to my blog, The Quack, where I tell facepalm moments and muddled observations. Whew. Last week I announced Book 2, Bad Dates Club. Ew. It's coming out in September, and so I thought this would be a really good opportunity to write a quack about where the idea came from. If you've been with The Quack for a while, you would know I've wrote a lot about dating apps and babies and if I want them, the pressure of it, just sort of basically being a single woman in my 30s and all the sort of contradictory thoughts that you have. And Bad Dates Club is basically a novel version of some of those experiences and those feelings, channeled through two great characters, Maddie Guzman and Violet Bright, who are flatmates in London who are having an awful time on the dating scene. I told Roman I was writing this quack and explaining that I'll probably mention a few of the embarrassing things that I did when I was single and trying to, lock a man down. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, but are you going to sort of say that you had bad dates until I came along and then you had a good date? And I was like, probably not, because it will ruin the tone of the blog. So sorry about that, Roman. In other news, I have been doing a bit of a memoir binge. I did both of Lena Dunham's memoirs and Tina Fey's and Patti Smith's. So I have learned a lot about people in the last week. Everyone's talking about Lena Dunham's memoir, Fame Sick. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I binged it in a day. She's very honest in it and very true to form. She sort of exposes a lot of bad behaviour behind the scenes, her regrets. She talks a lot about her own health, her rehab journey. And I think it's refreshing in a time when there's a lot of overproduced Netflix documentaries of celebrities on their rags to riches journey, and I don't know, it just sometimes doesn't really ring true. So this memoir has a bit more of a kick to it. It's not always the most comfortable read, but I highly recommend, and very witty and well written as it would be from Lena. Right, let's get on with this week's quack. Remember, you can pre-order Bad Dates Club now. It will come to your door on the 10th of September, maybe a few days sooner, as I found out with Amy Almond. Release dates aren't always the release date. But yes, if you're in the UK, the paperback will come out on the 10th of September. You can get the ebook wherever after the 10th of September. Okay, right, let's get on with this week's quack then. Thank you so much for listening. Here it is. Bad Dates Club. Why I wrote it. Romance books are booming, and I can see why. As a reader, I get that warm, fuzzy feeling when a man with a job and floppy hair falls in love with the quirky woman. You're not my usual type, he'd whisper in her ear, and I love it. Brrr. When it was time to start writing book 2, I was in the trenches of dating and feeling tremendously unromantic. I assumed that falling in love and having babies would just happen, like school just happened, and my national insurance number just happened. But as I blew out 30 candles, 31, 32, 33, I was beginning to realise that things may not turn out as Disney had promised. As a writer, there were two ways I could have dealt with this. The first way was to dig deep, deep, deep into my imagination and write a sweeping romance that lets us all escape our reality for 8 hours of audiobook time. The second option was to write what I know. I think you can guess which way it went. The articles are not lying. Being single in your early 30s as a woman is fabulous. I had my work, girls' trips to Europe, and my cute flat with all the wardrobe space. As far as I was concerned, if my prince didn't want to come because he'd rather play golf, then that's fine by me. Until it wasn't. It was always on my pink sofa on Sunday that I felt my single symptoms the most. I would dream of a smiley husband with facial hair, children who were a mix of him and me, but mostly me, and trips to centre parks. really like Centre Parks. I'd sigh longingly at my ceiling before making the decision to get myself back out there. The dating pool was the 30+ range. I assumed this meant everyone was ready to settle down. Biological clocks were ticking away, hairline was receding. We had no time for games, and yet there were games. So many games. Games to fill a whole Olympic stadium with. As someone who spent most of her 20s in relationships, I was not equipped for these games. It would be the small things, like waiting 2 days for him to reply. And when his answer finally flashed up on my phone, I had to sit on my hands to stop myself from instantly texting back. The rule is to reply within the same amount of time or more as they did. If it took him 2 days, it will take you 2 days. If it takes him a year, it will take you a year. It's all about the chase, darling. However, it would only be a couple of hours until I snapped. I had to reply. My eggs were aging by the second. So, he would receive an enthusiastic emoji-filled message that would subtly hint that I was free on the weekend, which he then went on to ignore for a week. Basically, I gave as much chase as a one-legged mouse. I also did this thing where I thought every man was as honest as the Pope. Examples of lines I fell for. Oh gosh, I forgot my work phone. Can we go back to my place? I have to live with my ex because of financial reasons. There was literally no signal in the Cotswolds. The last one might be true. As an independent woman who was brought up on Beyoncé, you're not allowed to wait around for men. But in the 5 years I was dating, I spent an embarrassing amount of time doing just that. I waited for texts, photos that weren't dick pics, a dinner plan, or a clue that something was going somewhere. 7 of those hours were lost on New Year's Eve, which I had kept free just in case the fun guy wanted to celebrate it with me. 5 p.m. came and went. Maybe he'll call at 6 p.m. By 8, I realised he probably was not going to turn up at my door. Probably, but he could. 11 p.m. Okay, he wasn't going to come. I cried in the bath as if I were in a music video, then saw in the new year, smelling of lavender and feeling more single than ever. It's tempting to compare my dating life to a romantic comedy, but I felt more like I was in one of those American teen movies from the early 2000s. Except, instead of being a clumsy teenage boy chasing girls around so he can lose his virginity, I was a clumsy 32-year-old woman trying to find out if a man wanted my kids. If it were only me in this predicament, I would have asked my gynecologist to double check to make sure there was nothing scary down there. Someone once told me that they dumped a girl because of the colour of her butthole, and it's got into my head a little. But it wasn't just me. Most of my friends were single with no night on the horizon. Even my Christian friends were tangled in situationships. That's right, not even God can save us from the fuckboys. It was like a club. I mean, we didn't build a tree house and put a sign up saying, "Boys are smelly," but we did have this sense that we were on this mission together. Every time we met up, we came with our next instalment of Could He Be the One? Guest starring, insert man's name. Sometimes we would ask each other advice. One of us would say, "What do you think he meant?" And suddenly we all became experts. See, it was easy to spot the mistakes our friends were making, but almost impossible to see where we were going wrong. That's the problem with red flags. They're only visible from a distance. One of my friends, who was very pretty and very short, was seeing a guy. One day, she climbed onto his lap and asked if he wanted to be her boyfriend. To which he stuttered, spluttered, and zoomed off. "He needs the chase," I said to her with utter authority. But who was I? Only that week I had spent 3 hours walking around a park with my guy as he explained to me the reason why he couldn't commit to a relationship was that he didn't like his dad. Or something like that. I forget. I kept seeing him though. Self-respect was so 2016. When each situationship had come to its inevitable end, my friends had different methods of dealing with it. My short friend would move on to the next man, look back at the previous one with horror, as if speeding away from a crash. How did that happen? Another friend would confront her men via a short, snappy WhatsApp message with no emojis. She'd sign off with a 2-word sentence like, "Keep well," with a gut-punching full stop. I hadn't honed my confrontational skills to pull this off. If I'm irritated, you'll see it on my face, but I couldn't send a selfie of me scowling. That would be odd. So I found it was best to let sleeping dogs lie. There was no WhatsApp message to get my feelings out, just the occasional blog post and then a book. If you do end up buying Bad Dates Club, coming September 10th, you'll be reading a story about 2 flatmates in their 30s who are trying and failing to navigate the dating scene of today. There are men who weave in and out, but the heart, I think, is in the friendship. It's all fiction, everybody is fake, there is no place called Naughty Coffee, as far as I know, or a man called Hugh Peterson. I made him up. But there are scenarios that might be familiar. Maybe because you read about them on the Quack once, or from your own experiences. After all, we're all members of the Bad Dates Club. Thanks so much for listening to this week's Quack. You can follow me at Mary Noonan Writes on Instagram. You can subscribe to the blog, The Quack. Just go on Thequack.blog. And yeah, look after yourself, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.